Welcome to the Mark David Show, where the truth is a conspiracy. I'm doing these back-to-back shows. A lot going on right now, particularly with the economy. Stock market up, down. Bank stocks plummeting because banks are all saturated with debt. There's all kinds of debt that's not even on their balance sheet. But what I want to talk about today is we just recently saw the U.S. Treasury bonds downgraded by Standard & Poor's. But what we really need to do is downgrade the media, okay? The mainstream media. Let me ask you this question, and I'm not going to be one of these bandwagon people harping on the media. Legitimately, before 9/11, who in the media was talking about Al-Qaeda? How come nobody in America knew what Al-Qaeda was? But the day of 9/11, within an hour, we all know who Osama bin Laden was. Or how about in 2007, 2008? Who in America knew what a credit default swap was? Okay, who knew what a derivative was? You know, on that gargantuan of scale, you'd think someone in the media was doing their job. And nobody I knew knew what was going on. It took several months for even Wall Street people to understand how big of a problem this was. Where was the media on that? The media sucks. There's no incentive whatsoever for anyone in the media to really do real investigation, because every road leads to Rome. Every trail leads to the people at the top who do most everything in secrecy. Everything behind closed doors. And the thing of it is, like, you go back to the 9/11 situation with Dan Rather. Dan Rather said, right on 9/11, he's talking about Building 7, he says, wow, that looked like a controlled demolition. That's like when you bring a building down. I could just see David Rockefeller watching that going, crap, did we forget to call Dan? Did we forget to tell him? Dan Rather just blew the whistle on him. You know? I mean, come on, people. Okay, so here's another headline from yesterday from CNN about that super committee. That this last budget debacle was really truly designed to create a super committee, right? Because you see, people, there is only one political party, the puppet party. One political party, the puppet party. Okay? And of course, they report to the controlling class of people. And this is where Rush Limbaugh confuses people. Rush Limbaugh gets on the radio and he tells his listeners, since you're conservative, you are in the elite class. No, you're not. You're being totally used. If you're a conservative, and I'll go off conservative or whatever, if you're a conservative, you are totally used. And you're the easiest people to use. Because all you have to do to use a conservative in any way you want is to say Jesus, soldier, Bible, eagle. And that's the terrorism, war on terror, 9/11. You say those things, and people, not the politicians, because the politicians are in the puppet class, but the people who call themselves conservative, they go right along, no matter what it is. Hey, we're going to have a gigantic gay orgy, Jesus. Oh, the conservatives will just start tearing their clothes off. I'm serious. Even though they're so supposedly so fundamentally against homosexuality. Okay, and while we're on that subject, let's talk about gay marriage for 1 second, okay? I'm not going to talk about right or wrong gay marriage because you know what? I don't care at all. But the hypocrisy is what I care about. I care about the hypocrisy because that's what I do, you know? So here you have a bunch of people calling themselves conservatives saying that marriage is between a man and a woman. I don't know if you've followed the statistics there, conservatives, but your institution of marriage has like a 60% divorce rate, okay? I honestly, I think to qualify for a moral ground, you have to be a success at it. There has to be some sort of success behind it. Your morality in this case is utter failure, okay? And then I'm going to go pick on the gay marriage people. Why is it so important? Why do you want to mimic an institution that's an utter failure? You know, gay people are generally pretty smart. Not to stereotype, but they are. They're pretty smart. think of a new institution of union that's not marriage, because marriage is a failure. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So, also on CNN, No Child Left Behind is going to be relaxed. No Child Left Behind. And you know why they're going to do that? You know why they're going to relax the No Child Left Behind restriction? Because they left every child behind. You see, that's what happens when the federal government gets involved in anything other than bombing people. They F it up. And every child was left behind on this. And in Atlanta, you had teachers, just like Wall Street, an incentive to cheat. They want to keep their jobs, they have to cheat. So they encourage kids to cheat. They created a structure of cheating. Sounds like Wall Street, doesn't it? Sounds like anything the federal government gets in and protects and upholds and tries to force ends up giving incentives to people to cheat. So there was a protest yesterday, a protest to end the Fed, and only one guy showed up. You know, now there's protests around the planet, riots around the planet. One guy shows up to an End the Fed march in New York City to the New York Federal Reserve, which is the Fed. The one in Washington is a puppet. It's a shill. The one in New York City, the New York Fed, is the boss. Okay, they're the ones who hold the gold. They're the ones who dictate policy, at least on this side of the world. And one guy shows up, but the police had surrounded the place when they read on Twitter or Facebook or whatever that there was going to be an In the Fed. Police surrounded the place. Excessive number of police surrounded the Fed fortress. So they anticipate this coming. And one guy shows up. And here's what I'm going to say about ending the Fed, okay? Everybody's getting on this bandwagon. In the Fed, in the Fed. Let me tell you something straightforward, okay? If you're not sitting on a stockpile of silver, physical silver, you do not know what the Fed is, and you don't know how to end it. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. So this was from CNBC.com last night. Economic uncertainty leading to global unrest. And we talked about this in the last show quite a bit, so I won't go too far on it. This is just the beginning. This is not even the global unrest at this point. We're about to see the full extent of the military and police buildup. This is only the beginning. Because in the West, we've been living under quite a socialist regime, largely. And it's going away. Because it turns out it's all based on debt. And those balance sheets are not lining up anymore. And it's all linked to peak oil. Again, there'll be lots of discussion on that. Cameron, over in the UK, is going to militarize the police. Which is, what choice does he have? Because, see, these aren't protesters. Okay, there's a difference between protesting and rioting. These are not protesters. And Alex Jones discussed this a little bit. You know, they're not protesting the Bank of England. They're looting, okay? They're going into stores and they're stealing crap. This is nothing but an excuse. This is like that Sublime song, you know, where they talk about Rodney King line. There was a riot in the streets. Tell me, where were you? Well, you were home watching your TV. I was out partaking in some anarchy. Because that's just human nature. We all love a good fireworks show, right? But seriously, they're not going to accomplish anything. When you go out and riot, it's like going out and shooting someone. You're just empowering. You're just empowering the oppression you think that you're standing up to. You need to, if you're going to organize, do like the New York Fed. That's a perfect analogy for actually the reality of the situation, where people will burn the streets, burn the buildings down into the street to loot and to tell everyone to F off government, F off authority. One person shows up to the New York Fed to actually address. Gosh, we're doomed. All right, this is from the Associated Press today. Government considers turning foreclosures into rentals. And you know, there's, again, a lot of people saw this coming. And this is what you got to remember. we're borrowing money from China. That's going to be collateral on those loans at some point, if it's not already. Your home is going to be owned by China. And the federal government's going to be the one who hands it to them. Because again, going back to No Child Left Behind, this is going to be no homeowner left behind. It's going to be the same thing. And, China has 1.3 billion people. Okay? If you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your rent because there are no jobs, where are you going to go? They have people to come over here. They have lots of people and they have lots of money. They have our money. You send it to them at Walmart. You send it to them through Walmart. Okay, here's a story from ABC News. 83-year-old gets breast implants to keep up with kids. Now that's just weird, okay? This lady is trying to get into the porn industry. Why else would you be 83 and need breast implants? Because she's not trying to keep up with the kids. She's trying to keep up with her colleagues in the porn industry. She has to be a porn star. Who's she going to show them to? What's she going to do? Hang out in front of her house? Hiring little Johnny to mow her lawn? She's going to be drinking some lemonade with her boobs half hanging out. Come on. That's just weird. Whatever. You know what? I'm a social libertarian. Ma'am, you enjoy those boobies. You enjoy those plastic boobies. But here's the thing. Everyone out there on Social Security better hope this lady's not on Social Security, because they're going to jump all over that. See? This is what we're spending Social Security on anyway. We got to cut it. Okay, there's all kinds of news about Rick Perry. Now, I knew Rick Perry was going to be running for president about 2 years ago. He shot a coyote and it made national news. And he was out running with his bodyguards and he had a dog with him and he shot a coyote. And his quote to the national press, who just happened to be in the neighborhood, was, "I'll protect my family." This guy, Rick Perry, he should scare you, very much so. He should scare you. I don't care how religious you are. Okay? This guy has flip-flopped so much, I guarantee you he's been a Satanist at some point in his lifetime. I promise you. He has worshipped Lord Satan at some point in his life. And then switched back over to Lord Jesus. And then he goes back over to Lord Satan. Look into this guy. Scary, scary, scary guy. And he's from Texas. Okay? Have we not learned anything? Anything? This guy has New World Order written all over him. This guy, Rick Perry, scary stuff. And I want to talk about the New World Order for a second. The New World Order really is kind of a farce. It's kind of a smokescreen. If you'll notice, anytime the globalists screw something up, they come out on TV and say, "We need a new world order." That's Henry Kissinger. We need a new world order. We're going to have a new world order. You know why they're saying that? That's not to scare you. That's to give you optimism. Like, oh, okay, they're going to finally change something. Because they're not. It's the same world order. The same elite families. See, this New World Order is being used to trick even conspiracy theory people. Does it say, New World Order? Like, okay, finally, something's going to change. Nothing's going to change. Nothing. More war, more death, more debt. You can guarantee those things. More taxes. And now, there's a new word in our vocabulary we have to learn and understand is here to stay. It's called austerity. And they're going to keep doing it. If we've learned anything about these people, they do not backtrack and they do not admit when they're wrong. Austerity. New World Order. New World Order. New World Order. We need a new world order. There's no New World Order, Henry. You're still a piece of crap. That's all the time we have today. This is the Mark David Show. Remember, the truth is a conspiracy. Hoorah!